Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be trying out the MAC Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof Foundation and the MAC Studio Fix 24-Hour Smooth Wear Concealer. The shades I have is, in the concealer I have NC17. And in the concealer I have NC15, and I decided to go ahead and splurge on these just because I had been wanting to try out another, like, you know, high-end foundation, and I was like, MAC seems to be one of the best, so I decided I wanted to go ahead and try MAC. I know they're a little bit more pricey, but they're pretty comparable to a lot of the other high-end brands, so I'm gonna go ahead and unbox it. So this is what it looks like. Many of you probably have already seen this before, maybe you already know, maybe you've had a makeover at MAC and have tried it. And this is the concealer, and I'm gonna go ahead and just apply it with my finger. I'm gonna put some on my finger and just kind of like dab it around. Hopefully they color matched me at MAC with this shade for the foundation, but the concealer not so much because I was already wearing foundation and concealer, so they kind of just took the foundation that I was already wearing like off on one side of my cheek and my chin area and applied that to match it. And so hopefully the concealer kind of works out here, the right shade and everything. The person thought that they just kind of picked that one and gave it to me and said that one should match pretty well. Now this one is not 100% full coverage. This is the medium to full coverage. So let's just see. As you can see, the shade is pretty good. It matches me pretty well, I would say. And I am applying it just with a regular beauty blender. Yeah, you can tell that it's not 100% full coverage. I usually don't lean towards 100% full coverage. I prefer like medium to full, or even a lot of days I prefer light, just because I kind of still like to see my skin a lot of times like peeking through. Okay, not bad coverage. I will say that you can still see that spot on my chin. Put a little bit more than that spot. And my nose. It's like, why are these the areas that's always, you never can get covered? The chin and the nose. I have a lot of problems with foundations around my mouth area and my nose most of the time. Now the problem I have usually around my mouth is that it like kind of looks cakey or cracky or something like right away, and then as the day goes on it's like worse, of course, because you know, you talk and everything, so your mouth is moving, so the foundation is like moving. So it ends up looking all like dry and cakey, cracky, like nasty looking. I really hate that. And it doesn't matter which like primer I use underneath, it always happens to me. I have a zit over there. It's not covering all the way, but that's okay. We'll put a little concealer on it. So yeah, that's usually the problem I have with most foundations. So I decided to go ahead and try this one and see if I have that problem or not. Right off the bat, I can tell you, like when I look at it up close, it looks a lot better way better than most of the foundations I try, even for the first time. Like, I can barely see that I have applied it here, and usually I can totally see it. It's like I could see all the texture, I could see like just dryness, cakiness, nastiness. And like I said, even if I apply a primer, you can still see it. It's like, seriously? But I do not see that with this one, and I do feel like it's really like matching me really well. Let's go ahead and try the concealer. Hopefully this isn't too light and like make me look raccoon eyes here. Just going to like dab a little bit. I usually always apply concealer to my eyelid because I never use like an eyeshadow primer. I usually use my concealer for that almost every single time. I don't like buying eyeshadow primers. It's like, I don't have too much of an oily lid or anything like that, and I feel like if you don't set it all the way, or if you don't set it at all, your eyeshadows will stick really well to concealer. I feel like though, for me, with almost all my concealers, I usually do like try to set it even just a little tiny bit so that it doesn't crease up, but it really depends on what concealer I'm using too, because some of them don't crease up, and there's some that I use that I'm like, oh yeah, I know I better set this a little bit or it's going to be like a mess. Okay, so pretty much almost done here. I'm just going to apply a little tiny bit to my nose. I feel like my nose is seriously always popping through my foundation. Like, I could put primer on and everything, and it's like my little round tip right there on the tip of my nose always popping through. Okay, that's a little better. All right. So I do really like the coverage. The shade around the eyes is actually maybe a little too light. It does look sort of raccoony, although this foundation and concealer does not have flashback. I'm kind of worried about just the shade difference in photos, not necessarily having the flashback, but having just like, you can totally tell like it's too light or something under the eyes, you know. I'm just going to apply some Laura Mercier powder and try to set a little bit here. Just using an e.l.f. This is just like a concealer, flawless concealer brush. I don't see how they call this a concealer brush. It's like ginormous. I mean, it's small, but it's not that small. I like to use this to like literally set my under eyes and my eyelids with powder. It's like perfect for that. I have this like small tapered one from e.l.f. that I use for that too, for my eyes. Okay. All right, well, I actually do like how it looks and turned out. It's pretty flawless. I don't see emphasis on my texture or anything really. And I usually have a big problem with foundations with texture and stuff, like around my nose and stuff like that, like right in here. And I don't see that with this one. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Somebody told me you should try the MAC, you're never gonna regret it. And I'm like, I'm afraid to try it because I just don't want to get addicted to it and be like, oh no, I gotta buy that every time, because it's like seriously really expensive. It's only 0.84 fluid ounces, and that's not much. And you don't really need that much though. Like, I really applied it very lightly. I did go in twice and use it, but I just dabbed it, and it really covers nicely. I don't know, this might last me quite a while if I'm very, very careful with it, but it looks like I'm gonna really like this one. I even see, like, even though it's not completely matte, it does look matte, but it still looks a little bit dewy at the same time. Not like super dewy and wet. Like if I touch my face, it's slightly tacky, but not really. Just barely. And so yeah, I could still see like a little glow going on, but it looks really nice, and the concealer is not creasing up. See that? That is great. I just still am not 100% sure on the shade though. This might be a little too light. I might need one shade darker. But all in all, it's really great. I love it. I think I'm going to keep continuing to use it, and later on, if I find out anything with this, like any problems with it, I will link it in the description box below to let you guys know what problems I had with it or what problems I didn't have with it. I hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me, trying out the it is not new, it's new to me, the Pro Longwear Nourishing Waterproof Foundation from MAC and the Studio Fix 24-Hour Smooth Wear Concealer. If you guys have any questions about this product, please leave them down below. And please don't forget to like and subscribe before leaving, and I will definitely see you guys in my next video. Bye!